how do you see this playing out? I mean, of course, we don't have a crystal ball, but do you think just a last question, do you think the United States will be willing to throw the Europeans into this as well? Because a lot of the fake diplomacy of Trump appears to have simply been outsourcing the war to the Europeans. I mean, if you see how much more hawkish the Europeans have become since Trump took over, it's it would be a it would be a reasonable hypothesis. I mean,
yeah. So it's interesting. Brzezinski again spelled everything out very clearly, exactly as you said. It's Russia, Iran, and China as the three potential blockages to American primacy in Eurasia, and then all of these geopolitical pivots around each of them so that they can be somehow brought down with regime change or crippled or defeated in war, if it happens to be. And I mentioned one of the big mistakes that Brzezinski made, a fundamental flaw of the whole analysis. He said, Russia will never be able to resist this because American technological dominance is so secure, unchallenged. So ultimately, Brzezinski thought American power, not soft power, not propaganda power, not InfoWars or narrative power, but the fundamentals of industrial production and technology, in the end will dominate. And that we know is not true. But the second point that he made was the big risk is that China, Russia, and Iran will get together. And then he says in 1997, no American will let that happen. No American strategy would be so stupid as to push Russia, China, and Iran together. And of course, that's exactly what America has done. I think it's deeper than just a tactical response of the three of them facing this American hubris. I actually think that the fit in Eurasia is a very good fit, thank you, that China and Russia have a natural economic complementarity. By the way, just like Europe and Russia have a natural economic complementarity. Europe is resource poor and highly densely populated. Russia is low population density and resource rich, and that means a great complementarity to put the two together. Europe could have thrived on that basis. Europe has cut itself off exactly from that. So the same complementarity applies with Russia and China. And that relationship is not going away. It's not just a tactical relationship. It is a deep, mutually beneficial economic relationship. And the same is true with Iran and China. And the alliance of the three, therefore, makes very big sense. And then even more than that, if you look at Eurasia, east of that line, basically, from the longitudes of the Middle East all the way to the Pacific, with the bit of a complexity, not for this talk, but maybe for another one about India and its place in the global geopolitics, all the rest will coalesce into an economic unity of Eurasia that makes a lot of sense. And Europe will find itself out on the far western periphery, cut off from its natural trading partners, Russia and China, because it's cut itself off, and finding that the United States ain't no friend. And that's what Europe doesn't understand also, that Europe has put itself so squarely into a corner. It's geographically in a kind of corner, but it put itself geopolitically into a corner by its naivete and kind of corrupt vassalage to the United States. And if the Europeans would read Brzezinski, they would see that they were already regarded as vassals back 30 years ago. and they have become even more so today. So where is it all heading? The biggest hope is that the publics of the US and Europe are sick of this. It's not their game. It's not to their advantage. Our societies are hurting. They're divided. There are so many problems. Their infrastructure doesn't work in the United States. It's failing even in Europe, where it was always kept to a higher standard. But now, apparently, I haven't ridden on German rail recently, but people are telling me that it's unimaginable what is happening right now to even basic services in the European side, as these fools like Merz proclaim that the goal is to prepare for war. So I think the publics are disgusted, and I don't give up. Maybe it sounds naive, but I don't give up on democracy being able somehow to choose a different course. And this, I think, is our biggest hope. Europeans in daily life do not want a war. And they're talking big and talking nonsense and filled with bravado and delusions. But if the shots started to be fired, I think maybe, just maybe, there would be some quick sobering up. But even before that, the publics know this is completely wrong-headed. And if we, just to maybe to conclude on my part, Glenn, all of this was premised on American primacy and on getting the European vassal states to buy into that and to pursue that against the big adversaries so that the U.S. could dominate Eurasia. Everybody can see this is impossible. So if people would open their eyes, it's a failed venture that's leading us closer and closer to war. It is true that when the bubble bursts of this delusion, it's going to change a lot, actually. And it's actually going to burst a financial bubble that the U.S. rides on as well, because a lot of the U.S. stock market boom of the last 20 years is a primacy bubble in some sense as well. So there's going to be a reckoning, and it's going to not be pleasant entirely, but it could save us to have a realism that arises from all of this. But right now, don't count on the realism coming from Washington or Brussels or Berlin. But if it comes at all before mass destruction, it will come from the general public.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。